Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life, and today I've got the lovely husband and wife team of Claire and Jamie Davis, who are behind the multi-award winning company 38 Degrees North and a thriving midlife coaching business, the Midlife Mentors. And we are talking today about all things exercise, so I know your ears are going to be pricked up, as are mine. So guys, please introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about your story of how you got here.
Hello. Well, I'm
Hi
Claire,
there.
you're James.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain how we got here? I'll pass
Yeah.
the baton over to you to
Okay.
explain how we got here.
So, wow, rewind to the beginning. So I was stereotypical overweight kid at school, no good at sports. Then at about 9 or 10, I got sent to a very sports intensive school, so I had to kind of muck in and learn it fast. It's kind of my savior. Then I really valued physical training, being fit, being healthy. I kept that up throughout my life. I studied psychology at university when I was doing a master's in applied psychology, worked as a psychologist for a very short time before leaping out to become a journalist and then going into corporate world. But in 2011, I was like, oh, I'm going to change things up again. So I moved to Ibiza to set up a retreats company. And I wanted to turn the model that existed then on its head. Retreats in those days were primarily about weight loss. It's like, we'll take you away, beast you hard every day and feed you rice and beans. And we're like, no, let's partner with 5-star hotels. Let's have healthy food, but also if people want to go and have a burger and chips, they can. Let's give people workshops around beliefs, mindset, nutrition. So that was 38 Degrees North. We grew it from there. Claire joined me. Well, we would get together in about
2015, I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
So running that, and then because so many of our clients were falling in that kind of 35 plus, we started to see lots of similar things presenting. And more than that, as we got older, we started seeing a lot of our friends be like, oh, we know, just beginning of the end now. I've just got to put up with expanding waistline, low energy. And we're like, no, it doesn't have to be like this. So we started our podcast in 2019. Obviously, COVID killed the retreats business. So we launched online coaching and programs, which is our midlife reset program. And we've really gone from there. So yeah, our skill set is really, I guess, marrying together that integrated approach of the psychology, understanding what the psychological changes are, the psychological pressures we can have at midlife, how to adapt to those, the exercise part, the nutrition part, looking at things like understanding your hormones, your gut health. Claire herself comes from a very strong coaching background, life coaching, stress management. So we bring all those into play. And we offer that as a program, as one-to-one coaching. And then we work with corporates as well. So we go into places like Google, NBC Universal, Citibank, and talk about menopause. We're both menopause practitioners, low testosterone for men, relationships, communication, stress. Yeah, all kinds of things. That's us in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, I just explain because I think it's really helpful. James kind of was, I hate to use this word, the fat kid. He uses that horrible term.
I was a fat kid.
But you know, I didn't come into exercise or any of this stuff until my 30s. You know, I never went to the gym, or if I did, it was all cardio. And I had a terrible relationship with my body, like us that grew up in like the 70s and 80s. You know, my mum, bless her, she didn't know what she was doing at the time, but it's all the diet industry. She's on all the diets, all the fads. And so I kind of swung between borderline like anorexia in my teens to like always so I'd go between kind of gorging and then restricting. It was just this endless loop for years and years and years. And it wasn't until my divorce, when I was put on antidepressants, I was like, I don't want to be on antidepressants. I don't have anything against them. I don't want to be on these for the rest of my life. And it was that started my journey into looking into nutrition and exercise, but particularly weights. So that wasn't, I came to this quite late. I had all the psychology background, the stress management, all that kind of stuff. And I loved that, but I'd never taken care of my body. So I'd never really understood the impact that looking after my gut, like my nutrition and my health, my body, like feeling stronger. I hadn't ever related that to how I felt mentally and psychologically ever. So I then went on this journey and it turned my life around. I came off the antidepressants and then I just was like, I've got to help other women do this. I've got to help other women understand the power of looking after them physically in the right themselves in the right way, not just doing endless cardio, beasting themselves all the time, but looking after their like their gut health and their nutrition as well. And so I requalified doing all of that and integrated the psychology and the coaching and everything into it. So it was never, I've never been a sporty person. It wasn't something that, it was kind of by necessity for my mental health, actually, that I got into it.
And I think a lot of women, particularly midlife, will totally relate to your story because, you know, if you haven't been into sports or training or any kind of exercise, structured exercise before, and then you're told, you know, you actually really need to do this. It's really hard for some women to know where to start. So before we get on to that, what are the challenges you see for women, particularly in midlife, when it comes to exercise? So they might, you know, they might know what they're supposed to be eating, they might be on a very healthy diet, but when it comes to exercise, what are the kind of common mistakes they might be making, or some of the things they may not know about, particularly at this time? Because I think a lot of emphasis is put on diet and exercise, but not necessarily from women who are in midlife themselves and know the science behind it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I want to reiterate what you just said. It can feel so overwhelming for women that have just not done, I'll talk about weights in a minute, but not done weights, particularly that. I think that's the real thing that they come up against. It's like, I don't like weights. I don't want to go into a gym. I don't know what I'm doing. And when you're saying weights, it kind of scares me. I don't want to bulk. All these kind of pre-misconceptions of what weights are about. Obviously, it puts a lot of people off from getting started. But the reason being, I mean, you know this better than anyone as well, the reason we have to do weight-bearing exercises at midlife is because of our predisposition to having osteoporosis. Like 1 in 5 women are going to suffer from osteoporosis as our hormones change. And so we need strong bones, and we need a strong skeleton, and we need, you know, strong muscles as well, because our muscle mass is decreasing. So we don't want to be frail as we age. So it's a real must that we do weight training. But I think one of the things that we see a lot is people trying exercise they think is just cardio. Again, us midlifers, us Gen Xers, we kind of grew up with that, do cardio, do cardio, do cardio. And so if they're piling on the pounds, they're like, oh, you know, if I don't do cardio, I need to start doing it. If I do cardio, I'm clearly not doing enough because I'm still piling on the pounds. So they take their body into the stress response. Again, we talked about this when you were on our podcast, the cortisol levels. They take their body into a massive stress response, which negates what they're trying to do because it makes you hold on to belly fat. And it's a negative amplifier for all the other hormonal changes that are going on. It's the one, cortisol is the nasty one. So I think that's what is the real difficult thing for women to switch in their head, really, is that they don't need to just keep doing cardio, that they must do at least a couple of sessions of weight training a week. That's now the NHS guidelines. We've switched from doing cardio to also now having weights from the NHS guidelines. And from the weights perspective, it's not, you don't have to go into a gym. This is a completely wrong way to look at it. You don't have to go into the gym. 98% of our clients on our program use their body weight at home, or once they progress a little bit and they've got a bit more comfortable and they're doing things safely, the moves safely, we then take them up into using kettlebells, resistance bands, and some dumbbells if they want to. So yeah, I think it's just about having that support network. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about knowing that the person you're trusting with your program knows what they're doing, that they've been through it, that they know what's going to get you the best results. And, you know, obviously when you start doing resistance training, that's going to up your muscle mass. That's going to kickstart your metabolism again. Your body shape will change. Your body shape will never change with cardio, ever, 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 ever. Your body shape will change when you start doing weights. And it's so wonderful for us to hear clients go, oh my goodness, I thought I had this body shape for life, and now I've started to change my body shape. So yeah, there's just some of the top ones, really.
How does that happen, Claire? What happens when you start to maintain your muscle or put on muscle? How does that change your shape exactly?
Well, we become basically tighter and leaner, if that makes sense. So if you're doing, this is what we recommend. We are doing some cardio. And we're looking at our diet as well. And we're doing resistance training. What we're looking for, it's not about weight, because muscle is denser than fat. So it's not about weight, but your body's going to start shedding some of the fat and actually kind of replacing it with muscle. But because it's denser, it's actually leaner, and so you're actually going to look more svelte. The fat will start coming away, and you'll look tighter and more toned, just because of the way that the muscle sits in the body.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting, really interesting. And so what are the other, because I guess a lot of women might think, okay, yeah, I know about bone health, but I'm walking. I know, we lose muscle mass, but I'm not bothered about that because I don't want to look muscly, right? Those are the kind of things that people might think when you say muscle mass and bone health.
Yeah.
Okay, expand on those two, but also tell us what else maintaining muscle does for us, because I know there's a huge link to brain health.
Yeah, there is. So I get that, but it's like almost when I turn it on its head, can you afford not to be doing it? Because there's a kind of like, oh, I should do it because I know it'll make me look better. There's the aesthetic element, okay, and yeah, okay, you can take that or leave it. But actually, there's a quality of life as we're living longer, and there's so many studies now. So the benefits of weight training. There was a new one out, I think, just recently. But there's so much research that exercise in particular is really good for cognitive health, but for some reason they don't really understand the mechanism yet. But weight training in particular has a very strong link with cognitive health. So it massively decreases your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's if you're weight training regularly. The other thing to say is, like, one of the strongest indicators of mortality risk is strength. So if you're weak, then your mortality risk goes up. Another one is, I think after the age of 60, if you fall and you break something, your mortality risk increases like exponentially. But again, if you're stronger, you won't fall in the first place. If you do fall, you're much less likely to break something. So there's all these reasons about quality of life if we do this. And if you go back to aesthetics as well, muscles, of course, what we call metabolically active, meaning it burns calories even at rest. So the more we're carrying on our frame, the higher our metabolic rate, which basically means we're burning more calories even at rest, which means we don't have to be as concerned about our food input because we're burning it off more efficiently. So there's lots and lots of reasons, but I'd say that the brain health one is one, but then on a day-to-day basis, there's always your mental health. There's lots of links linking exercise and, again, weight training in particular, to lowered levels of anxiety, of depression, improved mood. So all these things play out, and it has a big impact on people's lives when they take it up.
I think that mind-body connection as well, actually, when you're doing weights, like actually focusing on getting the form correct. I think there's been some research around that as well, that mind-body connection and the movement actually keeps that brain kind of fresh and young, actually, because you're doing these movements that require a kind of skill. So your brain is growing, it's making new neural pathways, all that kind of stuff when you're doing weights. And I don't know whether you want to speak to also the testosterone, because a lot of women think about bulking.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
they say, oh, I don't want to bulk.
A lot of women say, oh, I don't want to bulk. Listen, women don't have enough free testosterone in their system to put on serious amounts of muscle.
Especially midlife.
To bulk as a woman, you need to be training very intensely, very consistent, like multiple sessions per week. And to be honest, if you really want to put on bulk, you'd have to be supplementing with something that's not from over the counter to actually put muscle on. The average woman is not going to pick up a weight and suddenly have bulging biceps. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, I've been doing it for 3 years, and there's not. I'm not Arnie.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard enough for most men. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. And if women start actually going into the gym and look at most men who are working out, who are midlife, and they're there every day, but they're not like stacked and massive because it's very hard to do.
But I think that's just the lack of knowledge, really, around like the hormonal implications actually of how we can bulk. And actually for us women, I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and I'm not saying that other people should do that. But and I've been doing this for 10 years and I haven't bulked. So
yeah, no, I think that's a very big myth, and I think we're slowly realizing that that's not the case. You talked a little bit about cardio. Before we get onto cardio, actually, let's just finish up on the strength training, because what a lot of women will want to know is, how much do I need to do? What is the right amount? And what sort of yes, you mentioned the different types. You can do it at home, you can do it in the gym. But what kind of things are people looking to get in included in that routine, if you like?
Yes, it's a really, really good question. And the minimum is those 2 sessions a week.
2 sessions of how long?
2 sessions, they can honestly, they can be like 20 minutes to start with, and you kind of want to build it up to about 45 minutes. But
Okay.
honestly, even 20 minutes, something is better than nothing.
Mhm.
So when we have our clients, their first weight sessions are about 20 to 25 minutes long. But you've got to also remember that as you're getting used to using the equipment and you're getting your form correct, because that is the most important. It's not about lifting heavy, it's about doing the moves correctly and with good form.
Yeah.
And so once they've got that now, that then they can go up to doing slightly longer sessions, about 45 minutes. Honestly, you do not need more than 45 minutes a couple of times a week. And you can do that any time of day as well. It's really important to say that with weight training, you could do that any time of day. And really, you want to kind of do that fueled, actually. So rather than doing that fasted, we can talk about cardio in a minute. Cardio, we can do fasted. That's a good way to start kind of burning more fat. But with weight training, you want to have the energy to be able to do those sessions. So maybe it's like you have your breakfast and then you do it, or you might do it in the afternoon or the evening. So there's no rules and regulations on when you should do your weight training session. And what you want to be doing on those 2 sessions is full body. So you want to be hitting each muscle group, not every single one right at the beginning. That's, you don't have to triceps and biceps. You don't have to do that, but you want to be hitting generally your upper body and your lower body on those 2 sessions. So it could be anything like some shoulder presses, some tricep dips, and then some squats and some kickbacks for the lower body. And you just want to be doing that twice a week. So you hit those muscle groups twice a week.
So the important thing is you want to make sure you've got at least a 48 hours recovery in between. So muscles actually build during the recovery phase, not the lifting phase. So what you don't want to do is like, oh, I'll do a workout on a Monday and again on a Tuesday, then I'm done for the week. You want to leave 2 to 3 days in between. And I say the other thing that people go wrong in is not focusing on progressive overload. So our muscles will adapt quite fast. So, you know, for example, if you've got a 4 kilo dumbbell and you do 10 reps, you know, 4 weeks down the line, you don't want to still be doing 10 reps. You've either gone up to a 5 or 6 kilo, or if you still got the 4, you've gone up to maybe 15, 20 reps, because we're looking to just keep that going, overloading all the time.
And you know that, sorry, this is where our passion coming out, blah, 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 blah. And you know that you're ready to go up in weight when actually, if you're doing, for example, 3 sets. So sets means the amount of, let's talk about reps first. That would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we rest. But then that's 1 set. And then we're going to go on to the second set and do the same again. So we're going to do 10 reps again. We'll put them down. We'll rest for like 30 seconds. Then we pick them back up again. And we do a 3rd set, for example. You want to be failing on the last few reps of that last set. So you want to kind of be struggling with the weight that you're using on those last few reps of that last set.
Okay.
And if you're not, and it's easy peasy, and you can get like 15 at each outset, and you've got to be honest with yourself here, then you should go up in weight.
Yeah, great. Okay, so there's some, and I see a few of these at the gym, the men that are standing there doing the bicep curls, and they're doing 20 sets and nothing else, because they're obviously focusing on one muscle group. But for women and the general public, we're sort of talking about whole body. So you do some of your arms, some of your leg, or the bulk of your legs in one session. You don't have to go, I'm doing arms today, or I'm doing legs today.
No. Because that can be really confusing for people.
It can be. We don't want to confuse people here, but the basic rule of thumb is to get growth, i.e. not to maintain, you want to hit each muscle group twice a week with that rest in between.
Right.
So the easiest way to conceptualize that is 2 full body workouts.
Yeah.
But of course, as you get more advanced, you might want to say, okay, I'll do lower body one day, upper body the next, take a break, lower body, upper body.
Okay.
There are lots of ways you can split it up. And of course, if you're splitting into body areas or muscle groups, it potentially makes your workout shorter as well. So yeah, it's what works for you. Do you want to work out more often but shorter, or less often but a little bit longer? It's what works for you.
My ideal is twice a week, and then I do about an hour, because I like to do a good 15-minute stretching at the end. So I find that works brilliantly. I can do pretty much the whole body, and I kind of vary up the exercises for each one. So that works for me, and it's brilliant. But what about women who don't want to go to the gym, and what can they do at home? And I think you touched on this, but for the average person that doesn't have any equipment, for instance, and they just want to do something at home to make improvements? What can they do just on the floor?
Well, they can do so much stuff,
Yeah.
so much stuff. And obviously through our app, we take people through that kind of progression of, oh, I've done nothing. I don't know what I'm doing. So we start off with, you know, quite basic stuff, you know, like squats. And then we can do some tricep dips off the back of a chair or something like that. We could do some press ups, but not be scared about press ups because we can do them off a wall. And then we
Brilliant.
could progress with our press ups. We can do some kickbacks. So we're kind of squeezing our glutes. We can do some bridges. We can also start using, once we've got that, then we can start using some water bottles. So making sure that those water bottles are filled and they're not empty.
Yeah, that's way too easy.
Making sure that they are filled. But using those water bottles again to get a little bit more resistance, but using quite lightweight. And then really progressing. Once you've got that, honestly, I think it takes the average person, if they've never done any weights at all before, at all, you know, by the week 4 and 5, they're using water bottles, they're proficient in what they're doing, they feel confident, they feel comfortable. And this is a couple of times a week, you know. So what we've told you is what we tell our clients. So doing a couple of sessions a week, by week 4, they've worked their ways up to water bottles. And then we recommend what bands that they should get, and some light kettlebells, which are great. They're so versatile. And they only need to get a couple of those at the beginning.
And resistance bands are great, actually. So true story. We always used to mock the resistance bands
So
until COVID came along. Obviously, we couldn't go to the gym, so we bought
I hated them.
sets of resistance bands, and we were in the park with them like every day working out. And we actually like made really good gains with them because it's working your body in a different way. And to anyone who doesn't know, a resistance band, it's basically like a giant elastic band, and you get them in varying thicknesses. And obviously, the thicker they are, the greater the resistance. So you can play around. They're really inexpensive as well. So you can get a good set, and it can really hit your body in lots of different ways.
Absolutely true story. I used to really, it was very judgmental of me and it taught me a lesson. But my glutes, my backside, using bands grew more in lockdown than I'd had with doing all of my squats, all of my deadlifts, all of that. So I now still use them, even though we're back in the gym and I've got a plethora of equipment that I can use. I still use bands because they're that good.
And are you doing like kickbacks with them for your glutes,
Yes.
or are you doing like leg adductors or?
Yeah, yes, adductors, kickbacks and bridges, so weighted bridges as well. So you've got the band around you, so you've got like resistance on the outside and obviously pushing up in the upward movement.
Amazing.
Yeah, great.
For me personally, the strength training is something that I incorporated quite fairly recently, because I was all about cardio, so I didn't really know any better. But then, you know, with my work and my research, I realized I really should be weight training. And honestly, it's made such a difference to me in terms of my mood, and the way I feel about myself. So I've always struggled with my weight off and on. And of course, you know, I'm late 50s now, so it's kind of like, you know, I've got that whole menopausal shift in my body shape, etc. But I tell you what, going to the gym and doing the weights has done for me is made me less care about that stuff, because I feel so amazingly strong and healthy. And that for me is the difference. I feel so much better, and I really don't care about the odd wobbly bit, because honestly, I think if I feel strong, I feel healthy, then I've got that confidence getting older, that, you know, I still feel young, but I think it's made me feel younger, actually. Yeah, that's what it's done.
Yeah,
It's made me feel young.
It's so true, because I really went through that stage of just being super, 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 super skinny, you know, and like looking at my body and it was just skinny. And then looking at my body when it was more bloated and after the antidepressants, when I piled on the pounds and I was unhappy then, the weight training did exactly what you just said. It gave me an inner confidence. It wasn't then about actually what I was seeing in the mirror. It was like how powerful I felt. Like I felt more powerful and empowered. And, you know, when that muscle did start to grow, I was like, oh my goodness, I look stronger, like and therefore I feel stronger. And
Yeah.
that was the turning point for me. And I think what you were explaining there is what a lot of our midlife female clients experience as well. It's like less about, oh, you know, weighing myself and obsessing about, It's actually about how I feel in my skin, and it really always should be.
Actually, that's the most important thing at the end of the day, because actually that has an effect on your whole life, not just your diet and exercise and the way you look after yourself. It feeds into everything else that you do. So very, very important. Can I just pick up a little bit on cardio? Because again, I think there's a few myths around cardio, because most women will probably think about running. So, you know, I had to give up running over a decade ago because it was bad for my hips and knees. Not that that's the same for everyone, but I had to find a different type of cardio that would still make me breathless and sweat, but it wasn't so hard on me. So what is that to you, and what's your experience of that with the women that you look after?
So we always say, like, do what you love. And a lot of people like running. The only thing I would say with running, you know, our experience of running retreats for like a decade and seeing literally thousands of clients, people who'd done a lot of distance running who were midlife or older, inevitably had hip and knee issues because the impact, think about it, when the faster you go, the more that force multiplier is just going through every time you're
I wasn't even fast. I was like a tortoise.
Yeah. But I would say, do what you love. We're big fans of high intensity interval training, HIIT, and the reason for that is, you know, the mistake people make is trying to get the results. They do longer and longer cardio. Now, what happens is, the longer you're doing that, the greater your stress response, the more cortisol rises in the body. So, as we said, it negates the effects of what you're trying to get. With HIIT, and I think this is where people get very scared of it. They're like, oh, but I'm scared of the intensity, and won't it spike cortisol too high? Well, yeah, it will if you're doing long sessions of 40 minutes plus, but I'll argue that's not HIIT. That's probably like medium intensity, because if you're truly going at high intensity, you should be doing like 15 to 20-minute sessions. Now, the beauty of those is, it's the one exercise methodology that research has shown will actually lower inflammation markers in the body over time. So it actually lowers your biological age. Obviously, it's very easy to fit in your day. It actually boosts endurance, even though it's short, boosts cardiovascular fitness. And we get what you call an afterburner effect, because the body works off fueling from glucose and glycogen and oxygen. Because we're not getting enough oxygen in, this is when we're panting, our metabolism will actually spike to 24 to 48 hours afterwards, trying to compensate for that. So HIIT's really effective. And we say to people, like, do 2 HIIT sessions a week, and then maybe at the weekend you do the thing you love, which could be, you know, your longer steady state, a walk, a swim, a bike ride. If you're going into the gym, you know, getting on the rowing machine, whatever. And I think that tends to work really well and fits into our busy schedules as well.
And can I just say, I don't do a separate HIIT session. So when I go to the gym, I warm up at the beginning, but I do it on elliptical, and I do 8 sprinty things on the elliptical. So which means that I'm getting my heart rate up to about 150, something like that, which is actually all right for me. It's not, I don't want to go super high because I just feel a little bit uncomfortable with that, especially if you're on a machine. I think if I sort of get faint and fall off, I'll be in trouble here. So get up to about 150, but doing that like 8 times, then, you know, 30 seconds up like that, and then a rest, and then 30 seconds, and that is my warm up for the gym, and then I'll go and do the muscles. So I don't know if that
does work
out.
Perfect.
Theoretically,
bring your heart rate up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, exactly. And what that does is it fits it into my normal 2 sessions, so I don't have to find time to do another 2 HIIT sessions. So if you're doing a weight workout, you can do that as your warm up, and that kind of works.
Absolutely.
It does get you really hot.
Yeah, it does get you really
I mean,
hot.
like it's about the time you want to spend in there, because actually some people, like we've said, they might just want to go, they might just want to do their weight session, their 20 minutes to half an hour weight session, and that's the time that they've got. And then they might want to do a HIIT at another point in the week. But if you can, if that works for you, combining it, I actually do that as well. So like this morning, I went and did my HIIT session on a runner, on a treadmill. So, you know, I set it, I'm doing it incline, then I'm doing it speed, and then I fuel. So I have my power shake that I call it, and then I go and do my weight session so that I've got a lot of energy to lift heavy.
I will also say as well that for people that are a bit scared of HIIT, or, you know, going that fast, but, you know, I've done HIIT on a treadmill walking on an incline. Because if you put that incline up high enough, you're going to be out of breath. My heart rate is well high, and you can then bring it down, have a rest, and then do that again. That you can do that 8 times, and that is the same as if you're walking outside. It's not quite as regimented, is it? But if you find a hill, get up that hill, come down again, get it up again. That is HIIT training. So if you break it down to very, very basics, then you don't need machines, you don't need to kind of follow a restricted thing, but just use your heart rate as your guide. I think anybody can do it. I do it in the swimming pool as well. So if I go for a swim, I'll do 8 sprinty
Exactly.
swims. I get funny looks because I'm sitting there for most of the time resting, but it's like
Yeah.
it works so well as a
Yeah.
quick and fat burning, and like you said, I love the idea that it's burning fat for the next 48 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
else does that?
I know.
And the endorphin rush you get afterwards
Oh,
as well.
huge. Yeah.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And I think it's really important for people when they think of that I, which is that intensity, they're so put off. But I promise you, we've had clients that have blessed them, trusted us, come on our program, and we've got beginner hits, like absolute beginner hits, and they've done those, and of course they've managed to do them because anyone can do it. It's tailored to, I mean, there's lucky in the videos that we've got, it's lucky because one does low intensity, one does a little bit higher intensity. So you just build it up over time. One of the most amazing things that we have never failed to see is how quickly people get used to doing their hits and how much fitter they get so quickly. It's lovely.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm so glad there's lots of different levels for people as well, because obviously that's what people experience.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about where people can find you, and any last sort of things that you want to get across today before that I haven't asked you, because I know there's always things that people want to share.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I'm going to cover everything. I'll just say to anyone listening, like, look, it's never too late to get started. It's never too late to get started. And the best time is yesterday. The next best time is today. It's very easy to keep finding excuses why you're not going to get going with it. But think if you'd started 3 months ago, 6 months ago, where would you be now? So I just say, if you're feeling like, yeah, you know what, I do want to make a difference to my health, I do want to get in shape, then just push the button, get going on it. That's what I say to people out there, and don't be afraid of it.
And I just really hammer home the mental health benefits. So for me, it was all about, it was less about how I looked, and it still is less about how I look. And everything that we do on all of our programs, everything we say, it's all about like how you feel in your skin. And the mental health benefits, it helped me so much that I then retrained and wanted to help other people. So it's really epic what it can do to your emotional well-being. So
yeah. And if people want to find us, they can find us at themidlifementors.com.
There's a quiz on there they can do.
They can do it at themidlifementors.com/audit. We'll do a quiz to kind of see where you are at the moment and where you can make adjustments in your life. And then just find us on socials, Midlife Mentors or The Midlife Mentors.
Amazing. So such an important topic, and I'm so glad you've come and dispelled some myths and given us some really good practical advice. Thank you so much, you two. And
thank you.
soon.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Bye.